The Kashmir conflict is one of the world's longest-running and most dangerous disputes. It is at the very heart of the tensions between India and Pakistan. Both countries claim the Kashmir region in its entirety. However, they each control only parts of it. India administers the majority of the region, including the Kashmir Valley. Pakistan controls Azad Kashmir and Gilgit-Baltistan. This division, established after the partition of British India in 1947, has been a source of conflict for over 7 decades. 3 wars have been fought between India and Pakistan, with 2 directly over Kashmir. The region remains heavily militarized, with a constant threat of violence. The line of control, a de facto border, divides the region and serves as a stark reminder of the unresolved dispute. The people of Kashmir have endured immense suffering as a result of the conflict. Human rights violations have been reported on both sides. The presence of militant groups further complicates the situation. Many Kashmiris yearn for self-determination, a right denied to them amidst the political tug-of-war. The Kashmir conflict is not just a territorial dispute, it represents a deeply emotional and symbolic struggle for both India and Pakistan. It is a conflict with historical baggage, religious overtones, and nationalistic fervor intertwined. This makes finding a peaceful resolution all the more difficult. The India-Pakistan rivalry is particularly alarming due to the presence of nuclear weapons on both sides. Both countries possess significant nuclear arsenals. This reality casts a long shadow over any potential conflict. What was once a regional dispute now carries the chilling possibility of escalating into a nuclear confrontation. The world watched with bated breath in 1998 when both countries conducted nuclear tests. This development heightened global anxieties about the potential for a nuclear arms race in South Asia. The international community has since focused on urging both nations to engage in nuclear restraint and pursue disarmament. The risk of accidental or unauthorized use of nuclear weapons is a constant concern. Miscalculation, miscommunication, or an act of terrorism could have catastrophic consequences. Experts warn of the devastating humanitarian and environmental impact of even a limited nuclear exchange. The use of nuclear weapons would have repercussions far beyond the Indian subcontinent. The presence of these weapons of mass destruction underscores the need for a peaceful resolution to the Kashmir conflict. The stakes are simply too high to allow for the possibility of a nuclear confrontation. The world cannot afford to ignore the potential for disaster. Recent years have witnessed a surge in tensions between India and Pakistan. The situation in Kashmir, always volatile, has become increasingly precarious. Militant attacks, cross-border firings, and political rhetoric have all contributed to a climate of fear and uncertainty. In 2019, India revoked Article 370 of its constitution, which had granted special status to Jammu and Kashmir. This move, met with widespread protests in the region, further inflamed tensions with Pakistan. Islamabad condemned the action as illegal and vowed to challenge it internationally. There have been numerous militant attacks targeting Indian security forces in Kashmir. These attacks, often attributed to Pakistan-based groups, have resulted in casualties on both sides. India has responded with force, conducting airstrikes inside Pakistani territory. These retaliatory strikes have brought the two countries perilously close to war. The rise of Hindu nationalism in India has also fueled tensions. Some groups have called for a more assertive stance towards Pakistan. The rhetoric employed by some politicians has further inflamed passions and made dialogue more difficult. India accuses Pakistan of sponsoring terrorism and providing safe havens to militant groups operating in Kashmir. It points to the involvement of groups like Lashkar-e-Taiba in attacks on Indian soil. New Delhi demands that Islamabad crack down on these groups and end its support for cross-border terrorism. Pakistan vehemently denies these accusations. It maintains that it provides only political and moral support to the Kashmiri people's struggle for self-determination. Islamabad accuses India of human rights abuses in Kashmir and of using excessive force against civilians. Both countries engage in a blame game, each accusing the other of violating ceasefire agreements and provoking violence. This lack of trust makes it difficult to find common ground and build a lasting peace. The international community is caught in the crossfire. While there is concern about terrorism emanating from Pakistan, there is also criticism of India's human rights record in Kashmir. The international community urges both sides to exercise restraint and engage in dialogue. The possibility of another war between India and Pakistan is a terrifying prospect. Experts have outlined various scenarios, each more alarming than the last. These range from limited skirmishes along the line of control to a full-blown conventional war engulfing the entire region. A limited conflict, while seemingly less catastrophic, carries the risk of rapid escalation. Miscalculation or misjudgment could quickly spiral into a wider conflict. The use of tactical nuclear weapons in such a scenario is a chilling possibility. A full-scale war would have devastating consequences for both countries and the entire region. Millions of lives would be at risk. The economic impact would be crippling. The use of nuclear weapons, even on a limited scale, would have catastrophic global ramifications. The potential for such a conflict to draw in other regional and global powers is a major concern. China's close ties with Pakistan and its own border disputes with India add another layer of complexity. The involvement of external actors could turn a regional conflict into a global conflagration. Section 6. The human cost, devastating consequences for millions. The human cost of a war between India and Pakistan is almost unimaginable. Millions of civilians would be caught in the crossfire. The use of conventional weapons alone would result in mass casualties and widespread displacement. The impact on infrastructure would be devastating. Hospitals, schools, and homes would be destroyed. Essential services like water and electricity would be disrupted. The economies of both countries would be crippled, leading to widespread poverty and suffering. The psychological trauma inflicted on the populations of both countries would be immense. Generations would be scarred by the horrors of war. The social fabric of both societies would be torn apart. A nuclear exchange would magnify these horrors exponentially. The immediate blast effects, radiation sickness, and long-term environmental damage would have catastrophic consequences for human health and the environment. The world would face a humanitarian crisis of unprecedented proportions. Section 7. A global concern, the international community's role. The international community has a vital role to play in preventing a war between India and Pakistan. The stakes are too high for the world to remain a passive observer. Diplomatic efforts, economic pressure, and international mediation are all crucial tools. The United Nations Security Council has a responsibility to address the Kashmir conflict. However, its effectiveness has been hampered by the veto power of permanent members, including China. Despite these challenges, the UN must play a more proactive role in facilitating dialogue and finding a peaceful resolution. Major powers like the United States, Russia, and the European Union have considerable leverage over both India and Pakistan. They must use their influence to encourage restraint and promote dialogue. Economic sanctions, while a last resort, could be considered to pressure both sides to come to the negotiating table. International organizations like the International Committee of the Red Cross and Médecins Sans Frontières would play a critical role in providing humanitarian assistance in the event of a conflict. Their access to conflict zones must be guaranteed to alleviate suffering and save lives. Section 8. The path forward, diplomacy and dialogue. The only viable path to lasting peace between India and Pakistan lies in diplomacy and dialogue. Both countries must recognize that war is not an option. The costs are simply too high. Confidence-building measures are essential to reduce tensions and create an environment conducive to dialogue. These could include restoring ceasefire agreements along the line of control, increasing people-to-people contact through cultural exchanges and sporting events, addressing the humanitarian crisis in Kashmir, and ensuring the protection of civilians. Back-channel diplomacy, away from the glare of the media, could help to rebuild trust and explore potential solutions. The involvement of neutral third parties, such as Switzerland or Norway, could facilitate these discussions. A phased approach, tackling less contentious issues first, could build momentum towards a comprehensive settlement. This could involve addressing issues like water sharing and trade before tackling the more sensitive issue of Kashmir's status. Section 9. Conclusion: the imperative of peace in a volatile world. The spectre of war between India and Pakistan is a stark reminder of the fragility of peace in our world. The consequences of such a conflict would be catastrophic, not just for the two countries involved, but for the entire region and beyond. The international community must remain vigilant and engaged in efforts to prevent this nightmare scenario from becoming a reality. Diplomacy, dialogue, and a commitment to peace are the only viable options. The alternative is simply too horrifying to contemplate. The people of India and Pakistan deserve a future free from the threat of war. The world cannot afford another conflict. It is time for both nations to choose the path of peace and work together to build a brighter future for all. Before we conclude, we'd like to remind you of the importance of staying informed and engaged. If you found this video insightful, please subscribe to our channel for more content that delves into critical global issues. Your support helps us continue to bring you valuable information. So don't forget to like this video, leave a comment with your thoughts, and share it with others who might benefit from it. Thank you for watching, and let's hope for a future where peace prevails. Please subscribe to my channel, like and comment on the video, and share the video. Thanks.